We're here to talk about Gears of War Judgment today with Connected Digital World.
The highly anticipated new Gears of War game, Gears of War Judgment, is out later this month. Recently we got to sit down with Jim Brown, who's the lead level designer from Epic Games, to talk about Gears of War Judgment. We talk about the game, some new characters, some old favourites, cosplay, and a few other interesting things. And there's some new gameplay footage thrown in there as well. Enjoy. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Sure, my name is Jim Brown and I am lead level designer for Epic Games.
So lead level designer, what does that entail?
That entails everything. So we have the programming side, which kind of makes the game run. We've got the art side, which makes the game pretty, and the designers kind of put all that together in context and try and make it fun.
So obviously we're here today to look at Gears of War Judgment. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So Gears of War Judgment is a brand new Gears game that is set 14 years prior to the original Gears of War and is told from the context of Damon Baird, who is a fan favorite character who is now being put on trial. He's before a military tribunal accused of war crimes. And as the player, he steps before the judge and gives his testimony, and you get to step in and play through that testimony and live it and experience it in the world of Emergence Day, when the Locust first came out and attacked the Sarens and the Cog forces.
So what was the choice for going sort of 14 years into the past?
We really took a step back from the franchise and said, what do we want to do next? And we knew that we didn't just want to make another Gears of War game. We had kind of told that story and it had reached a very good conclusion, and we wanted to do something new and fresh rather than just add on to what was already there. So we went and talked to our fans, talked to our community, and figured out where they wanted to go, what they wanted to do, and that's kind of how we ended up with, hey, everybody wants to see what it would be like to experience Emergence Day. Awesome, Gears of War Judgment, now you can do that. And the fan favorite that everyone came back in love with was Damon Baird. And when we looked at the rest of the stories, the comics, the novels, the other games, we had never really told his story before. So this is your chance to see why he has problems with authority, why he was a lieutenant in Gears of War Judgment but isn't later on, and how that story kind of evolved and he got there.
So Baird's not the only returning character though, is he?
No, he's not. You'll definitely see a much younger version of Augustus Cole, and we have a couple new characters that you're going to introduce to, and in addition to that we have a new Aftermath campaign. So while Gears of War Judgment takes place 14 years before the original Gears of War, the Aftermath campaign is kind of concurrent to the end of Gears of War 3. So you kind of get a bookend to the whole trilogy, and you kind of see the evolution of that story and where things go, and you'll run into some familiar faces, some familiar places, and some familiar enemies along the way.
So let's talk a little bit about Aftermath.
The Aftermath campaign, yeah. So the Aftermath campaign isn't unlocked necessarily when you first buy the game. It's something you have to unlock by completing challenges along the way. And there's a new system in Gears of War Judgment called our Declassification system. And the story, as I mentioned, is told from the perspective of the individual characters who are before a military tribunal, and they kind of come out and say, well, Your Honor, this is what happened. And then as the player, you get to get in and live and breathe that story. And let's say the story says, hey, we ran across a caravan and we were supposed to save everyone, but when we got there, the caravan had been destroyed and we had to fight off the Locust. And that's your official testimony before the judge. As the player, you can actually choose to declassify what actually happened. And using that same example, you would say, when we got to the caravan, it was destroyed, but what really happened was that we were out of ammo. So we had to collect the Locust weapons, even though we weren't supposed to do that, and use that to defend ourselves. And so you, from a story perspective, get a nice context of how they bent the rules and why they ended up before the military tribunal. Even if their intentions were right, they still were doing things that they weren't technically supposed to do. But each of these declassified pieces of declassified testimony changes the game a little bit. There are dozens of them scattered throughout the game, new weapons, new enemies, new environmental conditions, just all sorts of ways to really change the space of the game, but they also introduce a new layer of challenge. So the game keeps track of what you're doing and rates you at the end of each chapter. Did you accept the declassified challenges? Did you complete them? Did you do anything special along the way? Did you earn any battlefield commendations? And then you get a star rating from 0 to 3 stars, and then those stars can be used to unlock things, new characters, customization things, and eventually, ultimately, you'll unlock the Aftermath campaign to play through the end of the game.
Lobotomized! We got some more!
So one thing that's unique about this game is the replayability factor.
Right.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, we really wanted to make sure that you could tell the story your own way and in your own context. And one of the things that we did to ensure that is a new system called S3, which is our smart spawn system. And it's just one of the ways that we really kind of change up the game by every time you reload a checkpoint, every time you come back and start a new campaign with a friend, or even just go to dinner and then come back and try something again, it's going to be a different experience. You can't predict, oh, this door is going to open and an enemy is going to come out, and then the 3 more are going to come from the left, and as soon as I kill them, I'll get a cinematic. That kind of linear experience is really kind of thrown out the window with Judgment, because every time you never know who's going to come out of that door, what's going to come out of that door, how many of them, or even if they are going to come out of that door, because the game is going to randomize the battlefield for you and react to the way you're playing. So if you advance too quickly, an E-hole may open up to the side of you or to your flank where you weren't expecting it. So the next time you play, you may fall back and say, well, I'm not going to let that happen, I'm going to hide over here. Well, this other door that you didn't even realize was there may spawn a whole squad of different enemies that you never saw the last time. So every experience is going to be new, and then the characters that you're with also react to those changes. So you'll get different dialogue options or different things along the way that kind of personalize the experience and make it unique and different every time you play.
Health inspector! Fire in the hole!
So is Marcus going to be in the game?
So this game is primarily about Damon Baird, who is the main character. We have some others called, we have some other characters named like Sophia Hendrick, who is a brand new character, and Garen Paddock, who is actually an enemy soldier who has defected over to fight alongside you for his own reasons. And so you'll see some brand new characters and a mix of old favorites. You're going to see Cole is another one. And then, like I said, once you get to the Aftermath campaign, that's actually concurrent with the Gears of War 3 storyline. So the 2 stories are tied in a lot of different ways, and along the route you will run into some familiar faces, some familiar places, and things that kind of tie the whole context of the entire universe and the entire story together into one game.
We need intel! Right there!
So what's the reaction been from the fans who've sort of seen what little bits of snippets you guys have released?
So far we've actually had a really, really positive reaction. A lot of it I think is because we're allowing people to play more the way they want to and playing the game that they choose to play. And that's true in the context of the single player story as well as in the multiplayer, because we did kind of that same thing where we tore it back to its roots, really streamlined the experience, brand new controls, removed a lot of the roadblocks that were keeping people out of the game, so now they have more time to play and spend less time watching other people play. So they're having a much better time. And then we've also introduced a brand new game mode called Overrun, which for the first time lets people play as not only the giant locust monsters where you can do all the really cool scary things, but then also you get a class-based cog side where you can kind of customize your experience to play your unique role and have your own special abilities along the way.
One final question then. Anya Stroud's obviously a big fan favourite with cosplayers. Are there going to be any female character equivalents within Gears of War Judgment that you think cosplayers are going to jump on?
Yeah, we've always had really, really strong female characters in the Gears universe, and not only with them, but several of our others, we have a huge cosplay community. I actually went to Dragon Con not too long back, and we had this huge panel of people, and it was so amazing to see so many really, really enthusiastic fans. So this time around, we do have some new characters. We have Garen Paddock, which I mentioned, who was a UIR soldier. This is the first time you actually get to see what the UIR look like and what the UIR sound like and act like, so people might want to cosplay that. But we also have Sophia Hendricks, who is a Onyx Guard cadet. So she'll be that kind of special forces in the black armor, and I'm really interested to see what people do with that. But one of the cool features that we're doing this time around that we've never done before is we're letting players have options to customize their armor. So that should give the cosplay community a little bit more freedom to do things that they want to do as well.
And obviously, when's the game out?
The game will be out in European cities on March 22nd.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.